Trevs Hockey Show. I'm the Trev. It's too sweet. I love this jersey. Anyway, we can add another expansion first for this season. Our first trade deadline. And, well, given our season, the way it's gone, the way it was intended to go, how did we do? We're stocked for the future. I can at least say that. But does it help us right now? I mean, if we're going for Shane Wright, absolutely it does. But this is the wrong year to tank. We want to tank next year, not this year. I mean, don't get me wrong. Getting Wright would be a great thing. But it's Bedard you want. But I'm getting completely off topic. Let's talk about Seattle's first trip to trade deadline. Let's do it. So much like we did in the video previous to this, let's go over the week before trade deadline because there were deals made the week before today. And we'll start on March 16th. When we sent Calle Jarnkrok and retained half that salary to Calgary for a second, a third, a seventh this year, next year, and 24. Picks, just because we need picks. I mean, you can't really rely on 7 alone, especially if you're an expansion team, right? There'll be a trend. March 20th proved to be a bit of a busy day. So we sent our captain and the guy who just celebrated playing his 1,000th NHL game, along with Colin Blackwell, and we retained half of Giordano's salary. Sent that to Toronto for a second this year, a second next year, and a third in 24. Now, keep in mind, Giordano asked for a trade. More specifically, asked to be traded to Toronto, because he's from Toronto. Now, I don't want to be the bearer of bad news, but hey, Gio, Toronto has this horrible getting out of the first round problem. They've had it for about a decade. I don't know if anybody told you this before you said you wanted to go to Toronto, but if you're hearing this for the first time out of my mouth, I hate to be the guy to tell you that. But at least we got more seconds. Jeremy Lauzon goes to Nashville for their second round pick. Honestly, it's a shame to see Lauzon go. I liked watching him in Boston. Like everybody, or at least like most Kraken fans, I was hoping he would have produced. But I don't know if he just couldn't find his groove or what the score was. He just was not doing it here. So hopefully better success in Nashville. And we got another second rounder. And to close out trade deadline eve, we sent Mason Appleton back to Winnipeg. We selected him in the expansion draft, and we sent him back for a fourth next year. More picks. Which takes us to today, trade deadline day. Not nearly as busy as it was on the weekend. Sent Marcus Johansson back to Washington. We didn't pick him from Washington. He played in Washington previously, and we retained half his salary. For Daniel Sprong, this year's 4th and next year's 6th. We got a player back. That's awesome. I thought we were going to call up the farm and get Beniers and Evans in real quick. But we got a player back. And more picks. And the only other trade we made today, Victor Rask out of Minnesota with half his salary retained for futures. Now, I want to say this is a very Ron Francis move because you got to remember Rask played with Ron Francis in Carolina. And I think Francis has already gone on record saying it's a depth move. But don't know that really helps us all that much now. But we'll see how it goes, right? And it's also worth noting, we picked up Derek Pouliot off waivers from Vegas. So there's that. So while nothing really helps us out now, other than, if Rask gets to play in Seattle, picking up Pouliot is a good thing. And, Daniel Sprung's nothing to sneeze at, but I really don't think that's the best return we could have got. I mean, given we didn't have much to give Washington other than Johansson, but for what we lack in actual players, our draft board looks phenomenal. Follow me. This year we have our first 4 picks in round 2, our third 3 picks in the 4th, our 5th, our 6th, our 7th. The next 2 years, both firsts. 3 next year in the 2nd, 1 the year after. 2 in the 3rd for those 2 years. 3 next year in the 4th, and a 4th in 24. 5th in both years, Washington 6th next year, Calgary 7th in 24. Let's zoom on out. We have more picks than players. We're ready for the future, obviously. That's what we're building for. But is this going to stay the same come draft day? Or is this going to look a lot more bigger? And if it's going to look bigger, what are we going to give up? Because we don't really have much to give up anymore. But you think of all the cap space you're going to save. Today's cap hit is only $69 million. That's our cap space right now. I know cap space shouldn't be the best thing, the be-all, end-all, but it's almost like getting to start all over next year. As far as how that cap space can go, the only UFA here on this list right now is Riley Sheahan. Fleury and Pouliot, if we decide to keep one or the other, and I really hope we get to keep Pouliot. Just want to see how good an addition he is to have on that team. Rask is probably going to be off the books at the end of the year. That's the salary we've retained. And as far as what's on the farm, Hedman and Carty are the only names on here that aren't free agents after this season. All our defense on the farm is a free agent after this season. And Bibu is our only free agent goalie after this season. So as much as that cap space is and how it looks, it's good to have, we are going to need to sign guys. And if Beniers is coming, got to get him signed to the ELC the instant he comes in. And the long and short of it, that's our first day on trade deadline day. So my initial thoughts, my initial takeaways. While it's good to stock up on draft picks, I'm not saying that's a bad thing at all. You need players. I mean, unless they are planning on recalling everybody from Charlotte and getting everybody in the lineup, like, is the objective at this point to go for Shane Wright? And if so, why? Like I said, next year's the year you want to do it, not this year. But again, this is why I'm not the GM. But I would think after today and going into next season, Ron Francis, you're on the clock. You got to make something happen. We got to get somewhat competitive next season, at least better than how we're doing this season. But overall, nothing too impressive, nothing overly depressive. I mean, it's great to stock up for the future. It's just everything we did today revolved around picks. And I get it, build for the future. But you should also worry about the now. And yeah, we're not making the playoffs. I get that. But let's at least finish out the season better than Montreal, better than Arizona. As great as having number 1 would be, let's avoid number one, if at all possible. That's just my thought. So that's another one of Trev's hockey shows. I want to thank you for tuning in. Yes, you watching right now. Don't think I don't appreciate the gesture, especially if you're right here. Let me know you're here. Give me a like. While you're at it, if you want to, if you haven't yet and you're strongly considering, and I highly recommend you do it, that red button that says subscribe all over it, hit that thing. Stay up to date with all the content I'm putting out. My lonely little social in the description down below. Move forward. As far as regular season is concerned, we'll see what comes up. I mean, if another record gets broken that's worth talking about, there's that. Another personnel change, and, well, I'm sure the next ones will come at the end of the season. There's that. But either way, if nothing else is coming up in between now and the end of the season, look for me to get some more scripts. But either way, in the meantime, and in between time, be looking for more videos from Trev. Later.